Jesus. Who is speaking? Imagine walking onto a stage and discovering a microphone already in your hand. The lights are bright. The audience is waiting. You clear your throat and begin to speak. The words come out naturally. You assume they are yours. After all, the microphone is in your hand. But what if the broadcast started long before you ever stepped onto the stage? What if the signal began somewhere else and you are simply the latest person holding the microphone? A father sits at the kitchen table and tells his young son, "Men don't cry." The boy hears the sentence at 7 years old. It drops into his mind like a seed pushed beneath the soil. Years pass. The boy grows into a man. One day grief rises in his chest and moisture fills his eyes. And suddenly a voice inside him says, "Don't do that. Be strong." The man believes the voice is his, but the broadcast began decades earlier, spoken by someone else in a different room. The microphone changed hands. The signal did not. Culture works the same way. A young woman scrolls through endless images of success, beauty, and achievement. Every screen whispers the same quiet message. You must be more productive, more attractive, more accomplished. These whispers repeat day after day until they move inside the mind and build a small radio station of their own. Years later, she wakes up and hears a thought that says, "I'm not doing enough with my life." The voice sounds personal. It sounds like her own. But the broadcast tower was built by a culture that never stopped transmitting. Church can install a frequency too. A man kneels in prayer and quietly thinks, "God must be disappointed in me." The thought feels spiritual. It feels humble. But trace the signal backward and you may find years of sermons about guilt and unworthiness echoing through the sanctuary. Eventually, those sermons move inside the mind and begin speaking in the first person. Now the voice says, "I," and no one questions where the signal began. Trauma builds its own broadcasting tower. A child once trusted someone who broke that trust. Pain entered the story. The mind constructed a watchtower to prevent it from happening again. Years later, a quiet thought appears that says, "Don't trust people." It sounds wise. It sounds protective. But it is the echo of a moment from long ago, still bouncing down the corridors of memory. Fear is perhaps the most persistent broadcaster of all. It rarely introduces itself as fear. Instead, it sounds like a careful advisor sitting behind the control panel. "Don't try that. You might fail. Stay where it's safe." The voice sounds reasonable, responsible, practical. And because the voice says "I," the mind assumes it belongs to the one holding the microphone. But a strange thing happens when someone is asked a simple question. Where did that belief come from? People pause. Their eyes move upward as if searching the shelves of memory. Then they answer with quiet confusion. "I don't know." The belief feels personal only because it has been repeated for so long. The microphone has been in their hand for years. No one ever told them the broadcast tower might be somewhere else entirely. And once that realization appears, another question quietly follows it onto the stage. What is the voice protecting? Sometimes it protects identity. Sometimes it protects belonging. Sometimes it protects a familiar story that feels too frightening to release. Because if the voice stopped speaking for even a moment, silence would appear. And inside that silence, a deeper possibility begins to rise. If these thoughts were inherited, if these beliefs were installed, if these scripts were learned, then the one holding the microphone may not be the one writing the script at all. The voice itself is not the real problem. Thoughts pass through the mind the way clouds pass across the sky. They appear, they drift, they disappear. The real power of the voice comes from belief. The moment the voice says, "I," the mind nods in agreement. No investigation, no curiosity, just automatic ownership of whatever was spoken. And that is why this question matters so much. Not because it silences the voice, but because it reveals something far more unsettling and far more liberating. The microphone may be in your hand, but the broadcast may not be coming from you.